Let's now talk about department codes. Now, department codes allow you to group together inventory items that share something in common, right? There's a reason why you're grouping these items together. Now, what are some of those reasons? What are some of the reasons why you may want to group items together? Probably the most popular reason is to monitor performance. So you want to monitor the performance of this group of items together, whether it's socks or shoes or clothing. You're grouping them together to make it easier for you to report against those items. So I'll write on here reporting and filtering because it's related to performance in that you have departments that you can filter for, that you can report against in order to monitor performance. So this group of items you're going to report against later on. Now, some people will create departments to group items together in order to facilitate the ordering of merchandise. Maybe you have departmental budgets. So this group of items, you have X number of dollars in order to order merchandise. Another reason why people would set up different departments would be to manage pricing. Maybe you want to have specific margins that you would like to achieve for select items. So you create a department, you drop those items into that department, and you establish a default margin. Then you can use some built-in functionality to help you establish price in order to achieve a certain margin. So if you know the cost, Retail Pro would suggest a price in order to achieve the set margin. So that's another reason why people may set up different departments. Another reason might be to manage taxing requirements. Maybe this group of items has their own separate taxing requirements. So you would set up a department for those items, and that will make it much easier for you to manage taxing requirements for similar items in the future. All you have to do is drop it into the same department, and automatically they'll get those default taxing rules. Okay? And another reason, though not as popular, but another reason why people may set up different department codes, different departments, is to manage decimal quantities. So some items, for example, fabrics or even soaps, may have a partial quantity. So you may have 1.5 of a given item or 2.7 of a given item. All right, so the quantities are not whole numbers. So you can create a whole department and then drop these similar items into that department so they will automatically get the decimal quantities. So these are just some examples of why you may want to set up different departments in order to group items together. But certainly the most popular reason is to monitor performance, to make it much easier for you to filter for those like items in order to report against those items. Okay? Now, each department consists of 3 levels, right? And they are the department level, the class level, and the subclass level, DCS. That's why many people refer to department codes as DCS codes because of the 3-tier system. Okay? So now each tier, you can have 3 characters to represent that tier. So the department tier gets 3 characters, class gets 3 characters, the subclass gets 3 characters. So at most, you may have a 9-character DCS code. Now, you don't have to use all 3 tiers. You don't have to use all 3 characters for a given tier. But at most, you'll be able to use 9 characters. Let's say, for example, that you have these departments: men's, women's, kids. And notice I'm using three characters, which I don't have to do. And let's say you have a class of, let's say, shoes or clothing, right? Or even accessories. And then you have a subclass, let's say, of, because you have athletic shoes, right? Or, you know what, I'm going to be more specific. Let's say you have basketball shoes, and you have football shoes, and you have running shoes, and so on. But you also have dress shoes, right? Same thing for clothing. You might have basketball related clothing or football, right? But you also have jeans or shirts or pants. As for accessories, maybe you have belts, maybe you have glasses, and so on, right? The combination of these three tiers would develop your DCS code. For example, you might have a men's accessories belts. So that would be one DCS code, men's accessories belts. Or you might have women's accessory belts, women's belts, or women's glasses, right? Or men's accessory glasses, or men's shoes basketball versus women's basketball shoes, or kids basketball shoes. So you need to go through, and depending on your needs, right? Depending on your needs, you may need to go in and develop a whole bunch of department codes. At the end of the day, you're going to have to set up DCS codes that meet your needs. So if you need to be able to report down to the socks, right? So maybe you have socks that you would like to report against. Maybe it's a subclass, or maybe you have the need to track dress socks versus athletic socks. So maybe you make socks a class, and then you can put here dress socks versus, say, athletic socks. So it really depends on your needs, and there's no right way to do this. There's plenty of wrong ways to do it, but there's no real right way. For example, here's one wrong way. Let's say you have shoes and socks. Well, you wouldn't use the same character for both, right? You wouldn't say S for shoes and S for socks, because when you go to filter for shoes in the future, you might very well grab socks related information as well. So you want to make sure your department's classes and subclasses are unique. That's it. That's department codes.